Let's try the lesson for today. Hey guys, we're doing
I
started it. Thank you.
on the day.
We're doing application problems today. I wonder how much time I have actually left. I don't know if there's a lot of room there. There's two formulas we use for application problems, quadratics. They're up there. One of them's in feet, one of them's in meters. We're gonna use the feet one 99% of the time. Oh, I got plenty of time. They will be given to you. Anytime you do an application problem, it'll be either given to you like this, and you have to fill the information in, or it'll be given to you with the information already filled in. Does anyone know what that negative 16 stands for? Any guess? Just, I mean, it's a random guess. There's no, you probably don't understand what it means yet. But when we're talking about, it does deal with trajectory, right? If I throw a ball, it makes a parabola, which is a quadratic. Yeah. But what is acting on that ball the whole way? Gravity. Gravity. That negative 16 is negative 16 feet per second. Right? That's our gravity. That's how much it pulls on that ball or that rocket or someone jumping. Now, like I said, that formula will be given to you 99% of, or I think the whole time, every time we do an application problem. Now, with that formula, negative 16t squared plus v sub 0t plus h sub 0. V sub 0 stands for initial velocity. H sub 0 stands for initial height. Most of the time they'll be filled in for you, but sometimes you need to fill that in. T stands for time. Normally the T is where the X is, right? In every single application problem we do, and I probably write this down, X will always represent time. X will be time. Every single one we do. In every single application problem we do, Y will represent height. So X is time, Y is height. Right? This H of t, that's my function, that's my Y value, that represents height. So when I know a height, I can plug it in for that. When I know a time, I can plug it in for t, my X values. Okay, it's super important to know. So let's try a problem. It'll be really fun, I promise. You're actually going to have to kind of think during these application problems. I know it's a crazy idea. But you have to think about stuff. Okay, I know, I can tell. Alright, so Jason jumps off a cliff into the ocean while vacationing with some friends. Okay? His height as a function of time can be modeled by the function h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 16t plus 136, where t is seconds, h is height. So, this is our function. They give it to us. Awesome. The first part of our problem asks us, how long did it take for Jason to reach his maximum height? So we need to think about that a little. Let's think about what they're asking us. What are they asking us specifically in that problem?
They're asking for y.
Why do you say that?
Because they're asking for the height.
Okay, but hold on. The key word is the first two words. How long? So that's time, right? So how long tells me they want to know how long. How much time does it take to get to that maximum height? So if I'm if I'm looking for time, that means I'm looking for which value, x or y? X. I'm looking for an x value, and it's actually a specific x value. It's when he's at his maximum height. Well, last week we talked about maximums and minimums, right? We said maximum meant it's at its, right? If I draw a parabola here, its maximum, his maximum height is going to be at his vertex. So anytime you see the word maximum, it means it wants it at the vertex. So it wants the x value at the vertex. The maximum height will be its vertex. So if we want how long, x value at vertex. Okay, well we're in standard form up here, right? Negative 16t squared plus 16t plus 136. How do I find an x value at a vertex in standard form? Do what we've been doing, which is x equals negative b over 2a. Perfect, right? To find my vertex in standard form, I do x equals negative b over 2a. Same thing here. I get negative 16 over 2 times negative 16. Or negative 16 over negative 32. Okay? That reduces to 1/2. Or if you want to use 0.5, I really don't care. Now that's 1/2 what?
The x.
That's the x, which is time, which means it's in seconds. So 1/2 seconds. Okay? Now stop and think about that for a second. If you jump off a cliff, does it make sense that in 1/2 seconds you're on your way down?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? If you got like 15 seconds, if you jump off a cliff, do you wait 15 seconds to start coming back down?
No.
No, that wouldn't make any sense, right? So you need to think about your answers as well, and we'll see that in the last one too. Okay? Think about your answers, make sure they make sense. Okay. So it wants to know, what is the highest point he reached? In other words, what was his maximum height? What was the highest point he reached? Or what was his maximum height? That's the y value at the vertex. Maximum, vertex, height, y value. So y value at the vertex. So the highest point he reached is the y value. Well, if I found my x, how do I find my y? Plug it back in. So we get negative 16 times 1/2 squared plus 16 times 1/2 plus 136. All it is, I plug my x value back in. And now all I gotta do is plug in your calculator. We should get negative 4 plus 8 plus 136 should give us
64 plus 8 plus 136.
140 feet. So when he jumps off that cliff and he hits his highest peak, he's 140 feet above the water. Pretty cool. Right, that makes sense because his initial height was 136 feet. So if he jumped 4 feet in the air, they start heading down. Okay? Those are the easy parts of these problems. That's the easiest part of the problem. We're not actually going to graph it. I'm going to draw a picture here in a second though. So like, here's my cliff.
I can jump that high.
Here's Jason.
Not an artist.
He's jumping. He's on his way back down to the water.
More like this.
So we found, guys, how long it took him to get to that point and how tall that point was, right? Well, the next step in our problem is Jason hits the water after how many seconds? The half second was his maximum height, so that was when he got to here. So we want to know when he gets to
The bottom.
there. How do we figure that out? Well, let's think. Do we know how long it's taking him? No, that's what it wants, right? He's going to hit after how many seconds? So we probably need to know his height to be able to solve this. Well, you tell me, does it give us his height?
That's the
But it
y.
gives us the highest.
Think about it. When he hits the water, that's the point we're looking at. How high above the water is he when he hits the water? He's at 0 feet, right? If I'm hitting the water, I'm not above it at all. I'm at 0 feet. So I know his height at this point I'm looking at, is 0 feet. So when I hit the water, I'm at 0 feet high, which means I'm going to set my equation equal to 0.
Oh.
Right? This equation equals his height. Well, if I jump into the water, I'm 0 feet above the water, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
So set the height equal to 0. 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 16t plus 136. And then I can solve for t. I can solve for the time it takes to get to 0. Well, we could try and factor that, I guess. Do you guys want to? No, not really.
Oh,
Is there maybe a...
Yes.
Hold on.
That thing.
Is there maybe another way that we learned to solve
Quadratic formulas.
quadratic formula?
Yes.
Crazy, right? This thing right here.
Boy.
Quadratic formula, the negative boy. Who couldn't decide if you wanted to go to a radical party? Being squared, he didn't go. Missed out on 4 awesome chicks. Party wasn't over until 2 a.m.
What?
Right? The negative boy who couldn't decide if he wanted to go to a radical party.
How did he know?
Being squared, he he didn't go. Missed out on 4 awesome chicks. Party wasn't over until 2 a.m.
Oh, wow.
Right? So, let's use our quadratic formula. Let's solve this.
There's a quadratic.
So,
That long.
t or x equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Once you have it set up, guys, it's all just about doing the math. Right? Doing the actual calculation. Setting up's the hardest part. I get negative 16 plus or minus the square root of 256 plus, what would that come out to on the other side? 8704. When I do this part here. Over negative 32. I'm glad you guys are doing this along with me so you can double check it.
Every time?
Okay? So then I add what's underneath that radical. Negative 16 plus or minus the square root of 8960 over negative 32. Okay, is 8,960 a perfect square?
Maybe.
It's not. Let me tell you. When we did these problems the other day, we said it needs to be, peace out. It needs to be a simplified radical, right?
Yeah.
When we're doing application problems, I don't want to know how many seconds it takes them in a simplified radical. So we can use decimals. So from this point, we're going to put it in our calculator. We're going to break it up. We're going to do negative 16 plus square root of 8,960 divided by negative 32. And we're going to do negative 16 minus square root 8,960 divided by negative 32. Now, be very careful. If you get something like negative 18, you did it wrong. A lot of people try and plug this whole thing in at once, and what happens is it divides 8,960 by negative 32 for square roots. I would highly suggest do the numerator, hit enter, then divide by negative 32. Hit enter again. Should give you your answer. So round to 2 decimal places, please. Plug both these in your calculator, and it should give us our answer. It should tell us how long it took him to hit the water.
How do you get 2 answers to time?
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, I did 2 answers.
We're going to talk about it.
It can't be a negative time.
We're going to talk about it.
Are we gonna?
Hey, do you want me to tell you we're going to talk about it again? Because we're going to talk about it. Yeah.
How we get,
Hey, Cal, you put it... Cal? Put it in your calculator. Hey, did anyone get the first one?
Negative 2.6.
Okay, we'll go to 1 decimal place, I guess.
2.6.
2.6.
2. That's a number that comes after 6.
So is it 2.5?
Yes.
Did you?
You didn't even know when you were green.
Okay, what about the bottom part? What'd you get there?
3.5.
What?
3.5.
3.5? Remember, talking in seconds.
Wait, why are there 2?
Okay, if I go back up to my picture for a second, let's think about this.
Did you just say that?
Why did I get 2 answers? Well, because remember, this parabola, guys, it doesn't stop where he is. It technically keeps going. So it hits the water over here, too, it technically says, but can you go backwards in time? Can I have a negative seconds? No. So this is where that negative 2.5 comes from. It's because it keeps going with the parabola back in time almost. So what's going to happen is, cross it out.
I'll save the decimal.
Yep. Nope.
So you don't even do the negative one?
Nope. So then you get 3.5 seconds. That's what I said. You guys need to think about it a little bit when we do our answers. Can I go back in time if I jump off a cliff? No.
Yes.
That makes no sense. So cross it out. Don't worry about that one. What? No, I don't think so. Okay. Guys, we got 3 problems to do yet. Okay. Any questions on the first one? So I'll give you this hint right now. I will tell you this right now. Anytime it talks about an object hitting the water, anytime it talks about an object hitting the ground, you need to set your equation equal to 0 because the height will be 0 at that point. Okay? Alright. Let's try the next one. Iman's trying to dunk a basketball.
Yes, sir.
Dude,
He needs to jump 2.5 feet up in the air to do so.
he jumped over.
Quiet.
That's not hard.
The height that his feet are above the ground is given by the function negative 16t squared plus 12t. Okay? Guys, quiet. What is the maximum height your feet will be above the ground? Yes, Ms. Baker?
Does this equation change?
It will, because our initial velocity changes for each problem. And our initial height. Like this is a plus 0. He's technically starting on the ground. So his initial height is 0. So don't put it on. So yeah, so each problem is going to change the velocity and the height. Gravity will always stay the same, but the height and the velocity will change. Okay? And like I said, the function will always be given to you. Okay? So, he's trying to dunk, right? We need to find out his maximum height his feet will be above the ground. We'll break down that process for a second. Maximum, guys, up here. Maximum tells me I'm looking at the what? The vertex. Okay? I want to know his height, which tells him looking for a x or y value. Y value. Right, so I want the y value at the vertex. Well, to find the y value, I need to find the x value first. X equals negative b over 2a. Negative 12 over 2 times negative 16. Or negative 12 over negative 32. Right, well that's going to be 3 over 8. Okay, so 3/8 of a second, he'll be at his maximum height. Well, how do I find the maximum height? I take 3/8 and I
Plug it in.
plug it in. Very good. Negative 16 times 3/8 squared plus 12 times 3/8. And I plug that into my calculator and I get an answer.
Do you square the 3/8?
Yep, so you do 3/8 squared and then times negative 16. What? I turn it off.
Here you go.
My mom couldn't ever turn her Fitbit on, so she was
No, it hurts really bad.
You're expensive.
It's because he has a
Don't worry about it.
I made sure to get her
It's like going down.
so now she has a button.
Hey, who put it in their calculator? Anybody? June, what'd you get?
Both of you.
Shh, guys, hey, quiet. June's like 3 feet from me. I can barely hear her say that. So 2.25. Well, 2.25. Do we have a label? B, right? Okay. So the maximum amount that Iman's be able to jump is 2.25 feet.
1.7.
Really be able to dunk the basketball? No. This is Eldridge. Hey.
I just need to put up more inches than I.
You never know, Ag.
Yes, wait until the 4 BC.
Uh-oh.
At
I'm
30.
already at 37. I just need to hit 40 and then I can go.
David sets the time. 3/8 of a second.
So 26.
Yeah, I'm here.
26 and a half.
At 11:13.
It's not.
Okay, that's fine. Come on. Alright, so, Evan, why can't he dunk?
Because he only jumped 2.25 feet, he can jump a minimum of 2.5 feet.
Perfect, right? It tells us he needs to jump 2.5. He can only jump 2.25, so sorry, man. You're not able to dunk, man.
Darn.
That's alright, so, we'll be able to dunk basketball? No. All done with that one. Okay, any questions on the first 2 problems?
No.
Okay, second 2 should be pretty easy.
Yay.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Oh, no.
Even if I have like.
Okay, what's that?
Can you go back to like 2?
Yeah, of course.
More like 5.
Okay, do you want me to count or you do it? Do you want me to count to 5 or?
Please don't.
Please don't? Okay.
That was last year.
I got my girls got cookies too.
Mr. E. Mr. E. I gotta talk to him. You know, we're gonna ask him something.
Can you
Okay,
wait
you go
until we're
ahead.
done with the next 2 problems?
Yes.
Okay, then yeah.
Keep going.
Okay, alright, our next 2. One number is a square of the other. Their sum is 42. Find the 2 numbers. Okay, well, do I know what the first number is?
No.
No, but I'm gonna call it x.
Alright.
Just normal math stuff, right?
6 times 6 is 36.
Guys. The second number is a square of the first number. Right? Well, that means if the first number is x, the second number is x squared. Right? It's the square, so it's x squared. So I have x and x squared. Okay? Well, their sum is 42.
36.
6 and 36.
36 and 40.
Oh, okay, can we solve it and then you can...
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, you are correct. Okay, that is one of the answers. What's the other one?
Negative.
40.
Yes. Okay. You guys got it.
I'm so
We're smart.
Okay, let's do it the mathematical way now. Their sum is 42, which means what? What does the sum mean?
Add.
Add them. X squared plus x equals 42.
It's 6.
Okay, yeah, thank you for the fourth person. If I want to solve for x, I got to get that one side equal to 0, so I got to subtract 42. Right? So minus 42, I get x squared plus x minus 42 equals 0. I have one side equal to 0. If I want to solve for x, what should I do next? So my favorite F words.
Factor.
Factor, thank you.
What's your
The other
second?
one just
My first favorite F word is 4.
What's your third?
That's a good question.
Probably should
I
have
don't really know. I don't know if I have a third favorite F
Franny.
word.
Franny. It's his middle name.
Okay, so factor. What multiplies to negative 42 and adds to 1? Shh, guys, come on. Multiplies to negative 42 adds to 1. Well, what multiplies to 42?
7 and 6.
7 and 6. Well, we know one of them's got to be negative, right? If they add to 1, which one's got to be negative?
6.
6. Good. So x plus 7, x minus 6. To solve those, using the zero product property, it says like inside each one equal to 0, because if either of them equals 0, the whole thing equals 0.
Thank you. Let's see, Calvin.
Guys,
Shout out.
quit being so obnoxious, please.
Is that an X?
Never mind.
Okay, minus 7, x equals negative 7, plus 6, x equals 6. So we found out our first number can be two things. It could be negative 7, or it could be 6. Well, my second number then is going to be either 49 or 36. I'm squaring it. So those are your two possibilities. Negative 7, 49, 6, 36. Okay? All you do is solve for x. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, we have one more problem to do, and then we're done. Oh, deep breath. Do you guys already have a rectangle on your paper?
Yes. They just got
Okay. The area of a rectangle is 84 square inches. I don't know what you're trying to tell me about. The length is 5 more than the width. Find the length and the width. Do I know either the length or the width? Well, Will doesn't. He's
The length
pretending
is
he knows.
5. Oh, more than 5.
What do you know?
The area of the rectangle is square, 84 square inches.
Okay, let's start with that then. The area of this rectangle is 84 square inches. Shh, guys.
And the length is 5 more than the width.
The length is 5 more than the width, which means it has to be plus 5 to whatever my width is. Well, what do you want to call the width? X.
Triangle.
Which means the length has to be x plus 5. Perfect, right? If I'm doing area, length times width has to be 84. So x times x plus 5 has to equal 84.
Is that absolute?
Okay? Well, if I distribute this x squared plus 5x equals 84, that looks a lot like the problem we just did, doesn't it? Okay, so we should probably subtract 84 from both sides to get one side equal to 0. X squared plus 5x minus 84 equals 0. And I want you to solve it from there. Go ahead and solve it on your paper. You need to find the length and the width.
That's not how that works. You're gonna burn your skin. Stop, please.
It's hurtful.
Hey, Alan, we don't dig your head, bro.
Where?
Hey, you should be solving this one on your own, man.
No, listen to me. You put it in,
Left or right?
pick it up and move it to the other side, bro. If you on this side, I'm telling you to move what side you can.
That's what I'm asking. Left or right?
Anytime we go over here.
Where's your fish?
He's in there somewhere.
Oh.
I hope.
Also, it's not the
Probably in
crusty
this.
crab.
It is.
Okay.
So when you finish solving it on your own, you can check your answer at mine.
That's a good drawing.
Then we're going to talk about it for a second before I hand out the homework.
Oh, really?
And I also have one other thing I need to talk about before we talk about homework, before we do homework. Yes, Andrew? That was what I want to talk about. Why did I cross off negative 12?
Because you can't have a negative.
I can't have a negative sideline. Right? I can't be a negative 12-inch width. You got to think about it. Like I said before, we got to think about why we get some of these answers. So you should have got x equals 7, which means my width is 7 inches, and my length is 12 inches. Okay. Swipe up, subscribe.
Share, like and share.